47 Eyewitness News with Ken Malloy, Lindsay Pena, and your pinpoint forecast. CBS 47 Eyewitness News at 11 in high definition.
Next week, California voters will decide the fate of Prop 64. If it passes, recreational use of marijuana would become legal in California. It's a controversial and complicated issue.
For the next 5 nights, we will take an in-depth look at what could happen here in the Central Valley if Prop 64 passes. We will investigate the potential impact on farming, children, traffic accidents, crime, and potential tax revenue. We'll also examine how similar laws have performed in other states, including Colorado and more recently, Oregon. In fact, we'll travel to Oregon for a first-hand look. But we begin tonight with the basics. What is Prop 64? Who's for it? Who's against it? And why? It's called the Adult Use of Marijuana Act. But if you listen to the ads on both sides,
Proposition 64 will allow marijuana smoking ads in prime time.
It's really about kids.
Or bans advertising directed at kids.
Money.
Or generates $1 billion in new tax revenue.
Public safety.
Fatalities doubled in marijuana-related car crashes after legalization.
Permits sales only at licensed marijuana businesses.
Quality of life.
Bans marijuana use in public.
And finally, highway safety.
Proposition 64 doesn't even include a DUI standard.
So what if Prop 64 passes? What does it mean for the Central Valley, your children, your safety, and your home?
It's going to be a different Fresno than how you grew up, even if you try and opt out of it.
Dr. Kevin Sabet, a former White House drug policy advisor who recently attended a local seminar on marijuana here in the Valley. His take on 64?
This really is about money, not marijuana.
Marijuana money. Let's start there. If you read the 62 pages of Prop 64, you quickly see why some call this the next California gold rush. There's a lot of money to be made, and it's already pouring into the Central Valley. In Coalinga, investors bought the abandoned Claremont Custody Center for over $4 million. They plan to extract cannabis oil from marijuana plants here. The irony of that isn't lost on the mayor pro tem.
He said, so the irony that this actually held drug offenders, this prison.
And in Hanford, investors bought an abandoned tire factory for over $12 million. They plan on processing 180,000 pounds of marijuana here every year.
This is a facility that actually grows, packages, and ships it out.
If Prop 64 passes, anyone over the age of 21 can possess it, smoke it, and grow it in limited amounts in non-public places. Under Prop 64, you could have 28.5 grams of marijuana, 8 grams of concentrated marijuana, and grow up to 6 marijuana plants at your home. Supporters of Prop 64 include Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom.
Taking people from the shadows and bringing them into a regulated market, and the byproduct of that is taxation.
Along with the big-name supporters, Prop 64 also has big money. They've outraised their opponents 8-1, collecting over $17 million. A former Facebook executive has contributed over $8 million. Supporters claim it's money well spent because if Prop 64 passes, the state could collect $1 billion a year in taxes. Dr. Sabet is skeptical.
This isn't about money for government. This is about money for a new industry, for the Silicon Valley billionaires to get even richer than they already are.
Investing millions of dollars on marijuana processing plants in Coalinga and Hanford is one thing, but the biggest potential payoff for marijuana investors is this, our San Joaquin soil. Drought or not, you can grow a lot of hemp and marijuana here.
Part of that includes the original family operation going back to late 1800s.
Ryan Jacobson, fourth-generation farmer on both sides of his family. He's the executive director with the Fresno County Farm Bureau, and he's watching Prop 64 closely.
Obviously, this is potentially one of the more prime areas in the state to grow this crop.
The official position of the California Farm Bureau Federation is no on 64.
I would hope not, at least where I personally live now.
But politics aside, as a farmer, he knows
marijuana does extraordinarily well here in the valley.
But he also knows, having seen rampant illegal medical marijuana groves that sprouted up back in 2010 in Fresno County, that
it wasn't necessarily the plants itself, it was the social ills that followed it.
So what about those social ills? What about the children, the dispensaries, the edibles, driving high, and drug testing at work if it's legal? Some of the answers can be found in the 4 states that have already passed recreational marijuana: Alaska, Colorado, Washington State, and most recently in 2014, Oregon passed Measure 91, their version of our Prop 64. So what have they learned? We decided to fly to Portland to find out.
Portland your destination?
Yep. Portland's the destination.
Gate number 3, okay?
Portland is just about an hour and a half away by flight, but it's a world away when it comes to marijuana. Welcome to Hempstock 2016, Tom McCall Waterfront Park in Portland, Oregon. We're not in Fresno anymore. We're here looking for answers about Measure 91. How hard was it to get Prop 91 passed?
Wow, so getting on the ballot was definitely a challenge.
And who better to ask than Anthony Johnson, the co-author of Measure 91.
And none of that goes away when you legalize cannabis.
And you helped write 91. Is there anything you do differently, change, tweak?
You know, I think over-regulation is something to be concerned about.
Now, Oregon has already made some adjustments to Measure 91 after it passed back in 2014. We'll take a look at that tomorrow night.
So